Welcome. Now, in this module, we are going to talk about compliance. And compliance is a very important aspect of information security, which could adversely impact the organization because compliance refers to regulatory requirements. It refers to legal requirements and refers to contractual requirements. And these are all issues which, if not managed properly, could even shut down the organization. So these are very important. And let's take a look at the controls for ISMS related to compliance. Now, compliance is A18, which is the 14th or the last group of controls and the first hierarchy, which is A18 compliance, and it has 8 controls. In the first control objective in yellow, compliance with legal and contractual requirements, we have a total of 5 controls: identification of applicable legislation and contractual requirements, intellectual property rights, protection of records, privacy and protection of personally identifiable information, and regulation of cryptographic controls. So let's take a look at some of these. Identification of applicable legislation and contractual requirements. All relevant legislative, statutory, regulatory, contractual requirements and the organization's approach to meet these requirements shall be explicitly identified, documented, and kept up to date for each information system and the organization. So here, interestingly, we're looking at all relevant legislative, statutory, regulatory, contractual requirements and the organization's approach to meet these. And that is a part of information security, because if the organization is shut down because of contractual obligations or regulatory requirements, that actually affects the availability of our IT processing facility, for example. Intellectual property rights. Appropriate procedures shall be implemented to ensure compliance with legislative, regulatory, and contractual requirements related to intellectual property rights and use of proprietary software products. So one example here is that if we are using software, then we need to have the properly licensed software, and we should not be using pirated software. So that's related to intellectual property rights. And wherever the intellectual property of some other organization is being utilized or product is being utilized with its own IPR or intellectual property, we need to ensure that we don't violate the intellectual property, because that could place risk from a regulatory or a contractual or a legislative angle. The second control objective, information security reviews. Now we have independent review of information security, very important, compliance with security policy and standards, and technical compliance review. Independent review of information security says, in green, the organization's approach to managing information security and its implementation, that is control objectives, controls, policies, processes, and procedures for information security, shall be reviewed independently at planned intervals or when significant changes occur. So we're talking about a third-party review. And this could be done, for example, for a pen test. Or there could be a gap analysis which is done by a third party, which is a specialist organization, which is conducted by the board or the management because they want to ensure that the technical controls are in place. Compliance with security policy and standards. So managers shall regularly review the compliance of information processing and procedures within their area of responsibility with the appropriate security policies, standards, and any other security requirements. So you need to comply with your own policy and standards, and there needs to be regular review in order to make sure that the appropriate security policies, standards, and any other security requirements are being met. And then you have technical compliance review. So there's a lot of technology involved, and sometimes the information security personnel don't have the required expertise to actually check the technical compliance of IT assets because it's very complicated. For example, security on an MPLS network, for example, and that's a very specialized skill set, or controls on an Oracle database, for example. Information systems shall be regularly reviewed for compliance with the organization's information security policies and standards, which can be done internally or externally. And that was the compliance control set, which was A18, which is also the last of the control sets in information security management system, which was part of the appendix. And we've taken a look and walked through 144 controls, which are part of 35 control objectives, which belong to 15 different group level controls at the highest hierarchy. So that was all about the appendix for ISMS, and this is very, very frequently used. It's excellent information, and the information is organized in a manner that you can look at the control, you can look at control objectives, you can look at the control groups if you want, and then you can drill down and quickly access the level of detail that you want from ISMS. That's all that we have for this module. Thank you.